Fedor Emelianenko versus Yoel Romero. Fedor Emelianenko is the greatest heavyweight of all time. It's a fact. What Fedor did, the winning streak he went on, was phenomenal. And we'll always remember Fedor as a legend. And at 40 years old, Fedor Emelianenko is now making his stake in Bellator. He's fighting in the United States, and he's fighting in New York. He's fighting against Matt Mitrione, ex-UFC fighter, a fighter with a record of 11-5. And Fedor Emelianenko has put together 5 wins in a row since his loss to Dan Henderson back in Strikeforce, back in 2011. And in his last fight versus Fabio Maldonado, Fedor won a majority decision, but he fought a war, and Fedor was demolished in the first round. He was smashed. We'd never seen Fedor sink so low. And we learned in that fight that Fedor has tremendous heart. He can take a beating and come back. And that's one of the reasons why he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. Yoel Romero is a middleweight, but Fedor fought Dan Henderson back in 2011, and Dan Henderson was traditionally a middleweight. So this fight is possible. It's not likely, but it would be a tremendous matchup. And I want to ask you guys, the fans, how you think this fight would match up, how you think Fedor would do against a monster like Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero is an ex-Olympian. He's a tremendous wrestler. He's the Cuban Olympian, and he's done amazing in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. He's won all of his fights since he came into UFC against Clifford Starks at UFC on Fox 7. He's won 8 in a row, and he's beaten the likes of Chris Weidman, Lyoto Machida, Jacare Souza, and Tim Kennedy. So in his last 4 fights, he fought the best out there in the middleweight division, and he's a big middleweight. He's got a huge frame. He's 5'10", and he's also older. He's 39 years old. So I think this would be a great matchup between 2 older guys. Fedor is a legend, and Yoel Romero reminds me of one of those guys from the past. He's built like a beast. He likes to go out there and throw haymakers. He's an amazing wrestler. He can wrestle down anyone, and he can stand back up if his opponent takes him down. Fedor is a master at Sambo. He's got great flips. He's also got great striking technique, and he's got tons of power. He's got 17 submissions out of his 36 wins. So Fedor is tricky, and he can always submit his opponent. We know that. We know that Fedor is a master at submissions for a heavyweight. And that's why he was just so good. He could knock you out, but he was just so tricky. While Yoel Romero, the soldier of God, is just a knockout artist. He's got no submissions yet, to his credit. People used to say he gassed, but I think a lot of the fans need to take that back. We saw that flying knee in the Weidman fight. We saw the pain on Weidman. We saw his head split. We saw the blood profusing out of his head. And we saw what an animal Yoel Romero is. And I just think this would be an all-out battle between 2 great fighters, 2 beasts, 2 guys who can just smash anyone. So I got to go with Yoel Romero. I don't know why. I know Fedor is a legend, but just looking back at Fedor's last fight, looking back at the Fabio Maldonado fight, seeing the beating that he took, the pain that he had to persevere in order to win that fight, I think Yoel could do the deed. Peace out, guys. Love you all, and thanks for everything.